Hey, good morning. It's really good to be with you guys this morning. I told you we did this concert last night, and I don't know if I told you last week, but like 3 years in a row, in like September I think it's been, I've preached the morning after a youth event. And the older I get, I don't know if it's because I have less energy or if just the kids take more energy, right? So we were at our event yesterday, and James, you're just a ball of energy, my man. And so James he goes, "Can I get a drink?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course you can go get a drink." I don't know what he's going to get. I'm like, "Maybe he'll get some water. That'd be cool." He comes back. This thing of lemonade is so big he can't hold it with one hand, right? And when I walked over and watched the guy made it, and they take the sugar and they just go, "That's good, that's about right. That's how much, okay?" He shakes it up. Someone took a sip of it, they go, "All I got was pure sugar." I'm just like, oh, this is going to be a good day. And it was. He was jumping off the walls. Everybody was having fun. But then the ride home just crashed hardcore, you know. Not physically crashed, but like he fell asleep in the back. I look back, and this is cool. I got to tell you, James is laying totally out in the back seat of my truck, right? But the funny part is there's two other teens there. He's laying on Kyle and on Alicia, just totally spread out, and they don't even care. They're just like, whatever, it's cool. He said on the way down, he's like, "It's like we're a big family." It is like we're a big family, James. So that's how the whole church is, not just the youth group. I know, dude. You had an awesome day. It was cool. Love our youth group. I wanted to pause real quick and thank you guys for how much you support them. We do a lot of stuff on the district with other churches that don't get the same support and the same benefit from their congregation. So thank you guys very, very much for investing in your youth. It matters. You can clap for that, definitely. I'm here because you invested in your youth. We're all here because somebody invested in us when we were younger, right? So thank you for doing that. This morning, we're going to talk about one of my favorite Bible stories. And it's not, you might have heard it, you might have not, but we're going to talk about it anyways. We're going to talk about identity this morning. And we're going to look at a person from the book of Acts. And you can tell a lot about someone's identity by watching what they do. It's kind of the best way because you can say whatever you want. You can say good things, but not back them up with good actions. So we're going to take a look at Paul. He's in Athens. Have you guys heard of a town called Athens? Maybe. It still exists. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah. It's around. I promise it's there. Didn't make it up, I swear. And he's in Athens, and he's bringing the message. We're going to talk about Paul this morning and really get a look at his identity and then kind of flip it and see how it applies to us today. I'm pretty excited about it. This is one of my favorite stories. So let's just do it. Let's just jump in. You guys ready? All right, let's do it. Acts 17, 16 through 34 is where we're going to be at. So it's about Paul. He's in Athens. It's a real city and a real person. It's real tempting to open the Bible up, start reading about all these stories that happened a couple thousand years ago and forget that they actually happened. You're not reading a fairy tale. It's not some book that someone just decided to write because the story sounded cool. Real person, real city, real ministry. Okay? So we can learn from him for today. It's a pretty cool story. Acts 17, 16 through 34. I'm going to read you the whole, our part of the scripture. We're going to do a little bit differently today, and we're just going to stop right in the middle of it, talk a little bit about it, and then move on to the next part, all right? You guys hang with me? All right, cool. The first little part here, it says, "When Paul was waiting for them in Athens, he was greatly distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with both Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace day by day with those who happened to be there. A group of, Levon, tell me if I say this right, Epicurean? Right. Yes, and Stoic? Whoo, is that right? Yes. Philosophers began to debate with him, and some of them asked, 'What is this babbler trying to say?' Others remarked, 'He seems to be advocating for foreign gods.' They said this because Paul was preaching the good news about Jesus and the resurrection. Then they took him and they brought him to the meeting place of this is the last one, ready? Areopagus? Is that right? Close enough? Yeah, all right, cool. Where they said to him, 'May we know what this new teaching is that you're presenting? You're bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we would like to know what they mean.' So, all the Athenians and foreigners who lived there spent their time doing nothing but talking about and listening to the latest ideas." Time out. Okay? we're going to just talk about this little piece of scripture here and then move on. But what I want you guys to see is Paul's walking around the town. He's actually waiting on some other people, but that's beside the point. He's walking around town. And do you guys know much about like ancient Greek history? Anything at all? A little bit at all? Okay. So you know they worshipped a lot of different gods. There wasn't just like one big god. There were a lot of different ones. Right? Give me okay. All right, you guys. So as Paul's walking around the town, he notices, man, there's an awful lot of statues, a lot of idols around here. And if Paul believes what he says, and he's a Christian, which he does, he has a problem with idols, right? Yeah, he has to. It doesn't work for him. And he's walking around, and he's like, man, there's just so many idols here. I'm going to start preaching to this group of people. They probably need to hear about Jesus. And so he goes into it. He just starts preaching about it. If you don't know much about the city there, Athens, I like the little side note they put at the end there. It's actually in parentheses. It's like, here's some historical information so you can understand what's happening, right? People love to go to this town and just talk. And just talk about great ideas. And just make as much smoke as they could, and no one's really right, and this is my idea, and I can defend it, but this is my idea, and they would just talk. Not a lot of results. They would just talk about lofty, big ideas. Nothing too wrong with the beginning of that. I have a problem when the lofty idea talk never gets to real-world application, right? When all we do is talk about this great unattainable thing, and we never talk about how there's a relationship between us and it, right? So, very intellectual with quotes, right? Very intellectual town. They love to just throw it out there and see who could know the most, who could have the most knowledge. But there was this group of people who got to decide if you were in the town and speaking a message, if you could continue to preach that or teach that, right? And that's the Areopagus. That's what I'm going to call them. Areopagus, same thing. So think of a council, like a group of people, maybe a board, that they would sit down and you'd present your message to them, and they would decide if you could continue to speak that message in the town. So Paul is out there, and he sees all these statues, and he's like, okay, he's probably getting confused, because I would get confused. If I had to keep track of what God, we were talking about it, Kyle, on the way back, Kyle's over there. On the way back, we were talking about it. We were like, which Greek god does this, and which Greek god represents that? And like, we were getting it all mixed up, and I'm like, what if I prayed to the wrong God for the wrong thing? Like, then are they going to be mad at me forever? And so, like, if I want it to rain, I pray to this one. But if, like, I want, like, luck in battle, I pray to this other one. And I would get pretty confused. You ever seen a quarterback's, like, wrist thing they wear? You guys know what I'm talking about? It's like a big white wristband. Yeah, it's got the playbook on it. It's pretty cool. It's like quick book, right? Boom. He can just look at it, know the plays. I would need one of those, like, when I prayed. Like, all right, let's see here. I'm sick, and I want my grain to grow better. That's got to be like a flow chart, you know? That's how I'd have to do it, because I would lose track. I'm sure you're surprised to know that I would lose track. But I would. I swear I would. Believe me, I promise. It would be pretty exhausting. It just would. And so he's walking around, sees all these idols, even sees one that says to an unknown God. And we'll get back to that in a second, because this is really cool what he does. And he starts preaching. The people hear the message, and they're thinking, okay, this guy's got to go in front of our council, because he's saying some kind of crazy stuff here. Side note, I found in the short time that I've been in ministry that some of the hardest people to minister to or to tell about God are the people who have the most knowledge. And I'm not saying knowledge is bad at all. I want you to be educated. I want you to know what you're talking about, okay? I want you to know as much about Christ as you can. I want you to know about all that stuff. Nothing wrong with knowledge at all, okay? When knowledge gets in the way of your relationship with Christ, though, now you have a problem. Now you're walking a fine line. And I found very often that the people in my life who I have found to really be genuinely smart people end up having the most difficulty accepting the grace that's freely given to them. Because I've told you probably before, I was in school in Maine, and it was like my junior year. This is kind of an embarrassing story because it took my friend 3 years to figure out I was a Christian. But the truth is I probably was only a legitimate one for like a year before that, right? You can probably, yeah, maybe a year. Maybe. I got maybe a year. And so we're in class my junior year, and we're talking about life. It was a philosophy class, and I started talking about my faith. And afterwards, the kid looked over at me and he goes, "You're a Christian?" And I was like, "Yeah." I'm thinking, "Oh yeah, another Christian, woo!" Like, because in Maine there's not a ton of them, so you got to do with what you find, you know. And I'm thinking, "Yes, another Christian." He goes, "Man, I thought you were smart." It's like, wow, all right, that's nice. Thought we were friends. That's cool. Whatever. I thought you were smart, and he didn't mean it. I don't even think he meant it as an insult. I think he was genuinely surprised. That's how much I think the world sees that intellectual and Christian can't go together. Right? But that's just not true. It's not true. But like I said, anytime your pursuit of knowledge gets in the way of your pursuit of Christ, you have a problem. So, side note there. But the point I want you guys to get from this little bit of scripture is Paul had a choice. Okay, he's in the town. He had a choice to even start talking about Jesus. But of course it's Paul, so you know he's going to. But then he gets told he has to go in front of his council. And let's be real, Paul's not dumb. He probably knows that it's not going to go super well. Because he's going to say some crazy things. Some things that, if you thought about it rationally, could not happen. If you're just using just your brain, it could not happen. So he knows it's probably not going to go very well in front of his council, but he has a choice. Am I going to go stand for my faith, or am I just going to take the easy road out? He could have just left right then. He had already even preached the message. He could even probably pat himself on the back. Yeah, hey, I went to Athens. I told him about Jesus, and then I had to go do this other thing. But he knows he's not done. He knows God sent him there for more than just what he's done already. So Paul had a choice. That's it. We have a choice every single day. Who are you going to serve? You going to serve you or God? It's the only options. That's all you get. You can serve yourself or you can serve God. That's all. It sounds really simple, doesn't it? Like, it sounds like it's the easiest thing ever, but don't mistake simple for easy. Do you guys know what I'm saying there? Do you really? Okay, so Pastor Scott could get up here every week and he could preach in really big words. I promise he could. He doesn't, and he won't. For a reason. I've heard him use them. We've talked about them. I know he knows them, okay? I know, I promise you. He's very educated on the subject. He could get up here and use huge spiritual terms that would just go way over most of our heads, okay? But what good would that do? What good would that do? If we can't understand it, then what are we preaching about? So, he simplifies the message. He simplifies it. He doesn't dumb it down. We're not dumbing it down. We're simplifying, okay? There's a difference between simple and just easy, okay? You follow me? All right. That's for you guys. That's for us. I don't understand half the words. He's like, "Hey, you taking classes on this and that?" I'm like, "Yeah. Yeah." And then I got to go back to my professor and like ask him to give me the definition of these words so I don't sound like an idiot at staff meeting. I end up sounding like an idiot at staff meeting anyway, though, so it doesn't really work out for me. So Paul's going into a pretty much no-win scenario here. He knows it's probably not going to go well. Lord of the Rings, Chuck. I'm talking about Lord of the Rings again. You didn't bring the sword today, but that's okay. There's this character, you guys know his name's Gimli. He's a little dwarf. He's the guy with the beard, big beard, right? He's got the axe. He's awesome. He's one of my favorites. And if you've seen the movie, it's awesome. If you haven't, oh my gosh, what are you waiting for? Like, for real. Why? You haven't seen it? Wow. We're going to talk later. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Don't waste your time on the regular ones. Watch the extended editions. But they're 4 hours long. Yeah, but just enjoy it. You'll love it. It's an experience. But at the end of the last one, so what's happened is the big battle is over, and they have to go and kind of distract the enemy so the people that are trying to destroy the ring can go destroy this evil ring, right? And if they don't do it, the people are going to get caught. So they're like, we have to go distract the enemy. So this army, they know they're outnumbered. They know they're probably going to die. They march to where the enemy is. But before they leave, they're sitting in this room and they're all talking about it. They're just talking, right? Just yapping about what they're going to do, what they got to do. And Gimli, this little guy, I mean, seriously, he's like this tall. Sweet beard. I'm envious of the beard. And he says this line. I love it. I love it. He says, "Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?" That sounds like the words of somebody that believes in what they're doing. That knows that they're doing something and working towards something that's bigger than them. Doesn't it? Sometimes when we know what the right thing to do is, we have to do it no matter what it costs. No matter what it costs, we have to do it. And this is the situation Paul has found himself in. He has a choice to obey or run, and he chooses to obey. It's pretty great. So let's jump into the next section here. It says, Paul, so now he's in front of this council, Paul then stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus and said, "People of Athens," here we go, he's going. "I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walk around and look carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with this inscription, 'To an unknown God.' So you are ignorant of the very thing you worship, and this is what I'm going to proclaim to you. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth and does not live in temples built by human hands. And he is not served by human hands as if he needed anything. Rather, he himself gives everyone life and breath and everything else. From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundary of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he's not far from any one of us." Amen. I love that little part. Don't worry, he's not that far. "For in him we live and move and have our being. As some of your own poets have said, we are his offspring. Therefore, since we are God's offspring, we should not think that the divine being, as it is like gold or silver or stone, an image made by hands, are human design and skill. In the past, God overlooked such ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent. For he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the man he has appointed. He has given proof of this to everyone by raising him from the dead." Time out. All right, so Paul made his decision. He's going to go, he's going to talk to this council, and he does it. He goes, he lays it all out there, boom. And in fact, it's a really good summarization of like what people need to know about Christ. If you ever wonder, like, what should I say? Like, you could just footnote this, like this little bit of scripture right here. Like, okay, what should I say? Let's see. I should tell them that, God is the God of all nations, that he created us, that he designed us from the beginning. He's got a beginning and an end in mind. And not only that, he has sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die for you. And he's raised him from the dead so that you could have a personal relationship with him. Like, you could just footnote that and then just keep it on like a business card or something and just like read it to people if you're worried, like nervous about evangelizing. It might look kind of dorky, but whatever, they'll still hear you. Like, just pick it up. Hold on, I got to read this to you. It might work, you never know. But he gives a really, really good just boom about what you guys need to know. It's quick, it's not long. He doesn't go on forever and ever. How does he start off? I love this. Can you throw that back up there for me, Amy? I want to read that first line. How does he start up? He says, "I see that you all are very religious." He compliments him. Now, he knows that the kind of religion that they're practicing goes against his. He knows that a lot of them don't believe what he believes. How do you react when you're around people that don't believe what you believe? How do you react? Do you treat them as the enemy? I went to a Bengals game last year. It was a Thursday night game, right, Brett? Thursday. Oh, you guys, a bunch of us were there. And it was really fun. It was great. We were walking in, and there's this group of people out front. And they have a bullhorn, and they have these signs that say terrible things, that say what they think God believes that I've never heard or read God believe. And they're yelling at people. They're yelling at them that you're going to hell, you're sinners. God hates this, God hates that. And you know what? There was revival right there. Thousands of people came to the Lord, and they just stopped. They didn't even play the game. Everyone came out of the stadium, and they were just like, "Jesus, you're right, man. We need Jesus." You don't believe it? You're right. Everybody's walking past, okay? And I could see on some people's faces they were really mad, but they didn't want to say anything because they didn't want the problems. And other people didn't even care. They weren't even listening. And a couple people even stopped and yelled back at the guy, all right? But there's two groups of people yelling back at the guy. There's one that just hates church, and they're like, "You're the problem with the world." And then there's the other that loves the church so much that they can't stand this guy's representing it the wrong way. And they're yelling at him because this is not what the church is, right? Just conflict everywhere. Not a whole lot of Jesus. Not a whole lot of Jesus. If you're talking to somebody, if you're in a situation where there's people around you that really don't share your faith, don't freak out. Just relax. That's why you're there. That means you're in the right place. That means you're in the right place. If all you ever spend time around are Christians, what does Sarah always say? You better check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? Don't freak out. Don't go at them telling them how, oh, you're this, you're that. Paul leads off with a compliment. I can see you guys are really religious. You guys get this whole worship thing. You really do. It's awesome. I've walked around, seen you even have a statue to this unknown God. Guys, I have great news for you, okay? Seriously, you're going to love this. I know that unknown God. I know who he is. And when you guys hear about him, man, all these other ones, you're not going to worry about them. This is the one, okay? You haven't known about this guy yet. But when I tell you about him, whoo, it's going to change your world. Knock your socks off, okay? Just get ready for this, all right? Get ready. And he goes in, he tells them, man, listen about my God. He is this big. Through all the nations, he made one guy into all these nations, right? He created us. He doesn't need your temples. If you've looked at ancient history at all, you know that they really like to build big temples, big statues, big buildings, right? If you were a leader, your legacy was defined by, could you build the biggest thing, okay? And he's saying, God doesn't need those things. God could have a pyramid or a pantheon if he wanted it, right? He doesn't need you to build that for him. In fact, he doesn't even live there. He doesn't even live there. You guys build these beautiful things, no problem, but he doesn't even live there, okay? He doesn't need them. And so Paul gets this awesome opportunity to tell these people about an unknown God. Someone they've never met before, someone that a lot of them never even heard about. And he goes into telling about him. He talks about the resurrection, and people kind of freak out, right? It's funny here. Let's jump back a little bit. I'm going to skip this. This is my favorite part. Oh my gosh, I almost missed it. Are you ready? Have you guys heard that verse, for in him we live and move and have our being? Yeah, do you know where that came from? Anybody? That's okay. You know, this is like a remix, right? So what Paul did, he took that right there, for in him we live and move and have our being. And then the other verse there is, for we are his offspring, right? Yeah, we are his offspring. Okay. See how there's see the little footnote behind that right there? Can you guys see that? If you follow that footnote, you can actually find that Paul didn't just pull that out of his head. He found that from other Greek poets. How cool is that? He found those two lines from other Greek poets. So he's in this hostile situation, right, where he knows people probably aren't going to believe what he's saying. He doesn't start off by being a jerk. He's not jumping out there telling them how wrong they are, how terrible what the things that they're doing are. He doesn't do that. He starts off with a compliment, and then he goes another step further. He relates to them. What? He meets them where they are. He says, listen, I've read some of your all's old stuff. Some of these guys, they don't know what they were talking about, but they were talking about this. For in him we live and move and have our being. Right? We are his offspring. I love it. When Chuck, how long you been here? How long you been here? Sorry, I forgot you're a dad. I should never ask dads questions like that because they're always going to give me the dad joke answer. How many? 5 years? Cool. It's been awesome. I'm very glad that you're here, sir. So Chuck shows up, and where were you at what was the Cincinnati Urban Promise? Thank you. He was there working with youth, right? And I remember he had come in, and I had just bought a lacrosse stick because one of the kids in the group was playing lacrosse, and I was like, all right, cool. Like, I can kind of throw a lacrosse ball. I'll get this lacrosse stick, and we'll be able to toss and talk about something, and we'll connect, right? And Chuck saw that, and he stopped, and he was like, man, meeting them where they're at. That's what it's about. Okay? It's something as dumb as a lacrosse stick. Something as crazy as Paul just read some Greek poems and thought, oh, this connects. I'm going to relate to these people. Okay? It's amazing what he does here. And if you look, he's not being self-serving about it. He's not talking about Christ so that people will like him and like want to be his friend. A lot of people go around and they kind of hide behind church as a way to just get attention. Sorry. That happens though. That's not what he's doing. He has one purpose here, to glorify God. Spread the message, right? So he's got a method. He doesn't just run in guns blazing. Paul has a definite method. But let's read the last little bit here. When they heard about the resurrection of the dead, so remember, that's what Paul ended with. Some of them sneered, but others said, we want to hear you again on this subject. And at that, Paul left the council. Some of the people became followers of Paul and believed. Among them was, this is her name, hold on, Dionysius, hold on, yeah, and a member of the Areopagus, and a woman named Damaris, and a number of others, okay? So Paul had a choice, Paul had a method, and he didn't get tripped up by his results. What are results anyway? What are some ways that we determine results? This is response time, you can tell me. Numbers? Yeah, that's important. My goodness, if you don't have enough numbers, you really aren't a church. How many does the Bible say? 2 or 3? 3 or more, right? 3? Okay, cool. 2? All right, yeah. He's there, so I mean. Numbers, what else? Numbers? Cash? Wins? Yeah, cash. Sometimes we judge it on cash. Do we have enough money to keep going? I mean, I remember when we first got here, I was running the books, and it was rough. It was real rough, and I've always been a broke guy. You know, I've always been used to looking at the checkbook and going, "Ooh, all right, we'll see what happens." But it even scared me. But God doesn't need our money, right? He said, "Preacher, don't say that. Oh my goodness, now no one's going to tithe." Well, God doesn't need your money. He wants your faith. He wants your dependence on Him. That's what He wants. He can get money. Like, really? It's paper. Really? He can figure that out. He wants your obedience. Whew. That's all He wants. So Paul doesn't get tripped up with the results. There's 3 different groups of people after this message. There's one group that just laugh at him. They sneer at him. They don't even listen to him. This is the biggest group, by the way. He says resurrection. They're like, see ya. Check, please. I'm out of here. Crazy man talking about somebody coming back from the dead. See you later. I don't need this in my life. I'm going to go listen to somebody else. Okay? Biggest group, just bail on him. Smaller group, okay, says, whoa, okay, we want to hear more about this. Why don't you talk more about this later? Keep coming back. We'll talk about it. Remember the people I talked about earlier, the intellectual people that just want to talk about, this is the cloudy people, right? They just want to talk about it. Paul could stay there for 10 more years talking about Jesus, and they'd say the same thing. Wow, we want to hear more about Him. And it wouldn't be a step closer to salvation than this day right here. Okay, that's kind of a hard truth, but that's just the truth. And then there's a third group, smallest group, the smallest by numbers group that believes. They hear this message and they stop. Everything stops. Just tunnel vision. Wait, Jesus? Yeah, I want that for my life. And they follow him. It's pretty cool. One of them is even from the council that we talked about, right? And then ladies, you get a mention here. Even a woman named Damaris, right? Sorry, I love the Bible because in a time where a lot of women weren't getting the mentions, they mention them, right? They talk about them. Most of the times, like, women and children just weren't counted. They weren't talked about. That's just the truth back in the day. And so I love that they throw that in there. Even this lady got saved in there. And so I'm reading this story, and I've read this story. I've had to do projects on this story. it always amazes me at the end that Paul doesn't let what looks like a small batch of results make him feel bad about what he did. He's going to preach about Jesus no matter who responds to it. Because he knows he needs to be out there casting the seed, right? And when we're spreading the message of Christ to others and doing what God's called us to do, we can't get caught up in our own desired results. Because sometimes what we want from it isn't exactly what God's working toward. And if you're working toward what you want more than what God wants, you have a problem. You need to stop and recalibrate yourself on what God wants. And so I'm looking at this story, I'm thinking, man, this guy, this Paul, is amazing. All these things are happening around him, and he's just like focused on God. And I'm thinking about where do I see that today? Like, where are all these people? Where are all these Pauls at? And immediately I thought of one. And I asked him before if this was okay. But you guys know my friend Brett, right? Brett waved everybody. You guys know my friend Brett, right? If you don't know, Brett recently lost his mother, which I couldn't even imagine. But I was watching him. I was watching him when all that was going on. Sorry. When his world was falling apart, when one of the worst things that could happen to somebody was happening, and he was just as much a follower of Christ through that as he was before and as he is now. And if you're looking for I know a lot of times we glorify these biblical people, but if you're looking for modern day warriors of the faith, you can look there. But not just at Brett either. You can look around right now and see a lot of them. Everybody that walks in here today has their own hurts and their own baggage. Just that they got here this morning could have been the biggest win of the day. Okay? So don't think that this great, amazing move has to happen for God to be working in your life, okay? It can be something as simple as a silent devotion to your faith when your world is falling apart. It can be something as simple as pulling along someone whose world is falling apart and being a rock for them. It can be that simple, okay? Sorry. I've been sick, and I haven't coughed. I've been coughing like last 2 weeks, and then while I'm up here, I stop coughing. It's great. I seem to preach until I'm healthy. So Christina, you're going to have to hear me talk a lot. I'm sorry. So, 3 things there. Paul had a choice, Paul had a method, and Paul didn't get tripped up by his results. We're talking about identity. Hey, can you guys bring those up for me? I forgot them. Can you run those? I want you guys to see this. We're talking about identity, and we're looking at Paul to see who he was. And Paul was good. Yeah, thank you. Beautiful. That's wonderful. Yeah, bring those over here.
Monster trucks?
Yeah, monster trucks, sure. I don't know what this is. I mean, that's deadly. That's deadly. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Okay, check this out. Okay, so we're talking about identity, right? And we can look at that story and see who Paul is. Paul's determined. Paul is obedient. Paul is faithful. Right? Right? Okay. And so I started thinking about, what does that mean for our identity today? And I used to work in a wood shop with my uncle, and he has all these crazy tools. I don't know what you even would use some of these for, but he's got them. Monster trucks, sure, they're monster truck tools. I don't know, but I started thinking about it, and you guys ever seen a wrench this big? Look at this thing. I think it's I think it's 2 inch, 2 inches across right there. It says 50 on it. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know what that means. I'm not gonna lie to you. You guys ever play Ratchet and Clank growing up? Yeah, his primary weapon was a wrench. This is totally Ratchet and Clank's weapon here. But what is this for? You can tighten or loosen bolts. Yeah. What else? Murder weapon. Yeah. Okay. That went dark quicker than I thought it was going to. All right. Hey-o. Purpose 1, tighten and loosen. Purpose 2, kill somebody. All right. Anything else? I just said 1, costume, prop, right? What else? What? Break into someone's car. Yeah. More crime. Yeah. What other crimes can we commit with this wrench? All right. Cool. That's cool. What about this? What can you use this for? It's a pry bar. It's kind of a screwdriver-ish thing, right? Back scratcher. Yeah, boy. Yeah, right? Murder weapon. No one said murder weapon. I mean, come on. It could be. Yeah, break into someone's car again. We got to talk after service, man. Protect your cars, people. You ain't safe, all right? Or house, all right. We are upgrading our felonies. That's wonderful. So, it's funny. It's cool how these tools have like a lot of different purposes, right? Sermon illustration. Yeah, pull someone's teeth. That'd be a huge tooth, right? They have tons of purposes. But what was the first thing someone said? To tighten and loosen, right? I mean, that's really, if you think about it, that's what this was built for. Okay, you can use it for a lot of other things, but it was made to loosen and tighten, right? Yeah, we'll lift weights, get a couple reps in. But it's really made for one purpose, and then we figured out other purposes for it, right? And when I got thinking about our identity and where it should be found, that reminded me kind of us. Because we're made for one purpose. We can do other things, but primarily we're made for one thing. And doing other things is not bad, as long as they're moving back into your main purpose. Right? Who are you first? Yeah. Who are you first? Because you cannot just explain someone in really one word, right? We're complex beings. I could sit here and tell you all kinds of different things that I am because I've lived them, right? I don't know, what am I? I'm a brother. I'm a son. I'm a father. Yeah, that's nice. Student. Yeah, I'm a student. I guess sometimes I'm a teacher. That's weird. I'm getting old. Yeah, I'm all kinds of different things, right? Christian. Yeah, you're right. What? Fan. Oh, I am a sports fan. You're right. I'm a sports fan. There's all these different things we can be. We can talk about political parties. People identify through that. There's a lot of different things I am that make me up. But at the end of the day, only one is eternally important. I'm a child of God. Okay? But who are you first? That's the question I wanted to ask you guys today because, all right, like I said last week, Pastor Scott said, while this is all happening, while you guys are preaching, be tough on them, okay? So I'm going to be a little tough on you. Are you ready? If I looked at your social media to determine who you were first, who would you be? Not what you say in church right now, because that's what you want to be, and that's great. But if I looked at your social media today, whatever one you use, and I asked you, and I looked and I said, this is going to be who you are. What would you be first? Friend? Yeah. A lot of people would be, Oklahoma football fan. Yeah, I see. A lot of people would be split politically. Right? Right? We put so much importance on those things, don't we? We devote our life to making sure that people know who we vote for or who we like and who we don't. And that's not wrong in itself. But if you're talking about who you're going to vote for more than you're talking about Jesus, I'm telling you guys, that's a problem. I'm telling you right now, that's a problem. I'm not trying to be mean or nasty. I'm just telling you, if you talk more about your sports team than you do about Jesus, man, you're missing it. Sports are great. I love them. Jesus, way better. Way better. You know, politics, not so great. I don't really love that. So I know Jesus is better than that. What nationality you are, what race you are. Jesus is better than dividing over those kind of things right there. He just is. It's the truth. I wanted to play the Who Are You song. You guys know what you're talking about? I'm talking about? Yeah. I was going to play it, but I found something different. And Amy, will you play that video for me real quick? I want you guys, it's like a minute and a half long. Just check this out.
One morning I walked into a church, but it wasn't on a Sunday. I looked around and I saw the empty seats, the sun glistening through the dust in the air. At first I was distraught at the sight of the empty chairs, but then I was filled with joy. I realized that the people who were once in those chairs were now outside of the building, working at their jobs, serving in their communities, laughing with their co-workers and growing with their families. They had the opportunity to be the church, not just sit in it. When will we be like them? When will we see the opportunity given to us to be the hands and feet of Jesus, bringing hope into the world? Stained glass can't pray for the sick. These walls can't preach the gospel, but you can. The building you're sitting in is just a building. But if you trust in Jesus, then you are the church.
Yeah, you can clap for that. That's who we are. We're the church. What does that mean? That means we need to be the hands and feet of Christ. And what does that mean? That means we need to serve other people. It means we need to put other people's needs in front of ourselves. Maybe have a little extra patience with somebody that's difficult. Extra grace required. You guys heard that? Turns out everybody is that. So just don't even categorize people like that. Everyone is. Okay? You are never more the person that you were made by God to be than when you're serving Him and those around you. If you're sitting there right now and you're thinking, I'm just never happy. My life is, I can't stand my life. I'm never happy. No matter, even when things are going good, deep down I'm still sad. Then I could probably tell you that you might be missing something. See, we can make a lot of noise. I could sit up here and listen to this. Right? Isn't that crazy? This is a lot of noise, right? It is. Am I getting any work done? Yeah, nothing, right? No work at all being done. Make a lot of noise, not getting anything meaningful done. We can live our whole life like that. You can trap yourself in that box, and you can just be the person that just really hates existence and never get anything meaningful done, okay? Or you can open your heart up to Jesus. You can let Him swoop in and let Him change your very perspective on life. You can let Him change every bit of you. You can be a new creation. It's pretty awesome. It's a pretty sweet deal. I'm not going to lie to you. And don't wait until you're perfect or until you have everything together. A lot of people tell me it's like, I got to just stop doing this and then I'm going to go straight to Jesus. And I'm like, well, why are you waiting? Just go to Jesus and just leave it there. He'll handle it. I promise you, He'll handle it. Don't wait until you have it all together. If you wait that long, you'll never make it. Because newsflash, you'll never have it all together. Okay, it's not going to happen. So don't wait that long. This week, this week, I want to challenge you guys, okay? We try to end every youth group message with like a challenge for what the students can do that week. I'm going to do the same thing with you guys. And Jimmy, you guys can come on up. I want you to make a choice for Christ. You're like, what does that even mean? I don't find it. I don't know what it means for your life. I don't know each and every one of your everyday schedules. Will you move those to the front for me? I don't know every one of your schedules, so I can't tell you exactly what that is. I want you to make a choice for Christ this week, okay? How is he calling you to better serve him and those around you? Okay? Once you've made the choice, decide how you're going to do it. Make a method. Figure out the best method to reach the people around you. If it's at work, maybe, I don't know, if it's at work, maybe you don't run in with a guitar and just start playing music to everybody in the middle of the workday. I don't know. Maybe you're really good at guitar and people would love that. If it was Michael, it'd probably be cool. If it was me, you probably don't want to hear that. So like maybe you don't do that. Maybe that's not the best method. Maybe the best method is just talking to somebody. Just leaning over to the person next to you and just saying, hey, how are you doing? Maybe that's the method. Could be that easy. And then remember that no matter how it turns out, to be encouraged that God will hold up his end of the deal. All he's asking you is to step out in faith, okay? Step out, make a choice for him, and start serving the people around you. You'll get a chance to share his message. You'll get a chance to be just like Paul and tell people about Christ. Most people are not going to be extremely receptive to that. Just going to tell you right now, I don't mean to like make you sad, but they just won't. They'll think they don't have time. They'll think, yeah, it's kind of crazy. They'll think all kinds of things. That's okay. Tell the next person too. And tell the next person too. And tell the next person. You see what I'm saying? Don't be discouraged by the results because you don't even know. You might be the person that plants the seed that years later when that person goes through a trial in their life, they know who to call because they know through your life, through how you live, who's a Christian. They know that that person in my office loves Jesus, even though I don't really know who he is, but my life is in shambles right now, so I know who to call to pray for me. It could be that simple. Could be more. I don't know. But make a choice, make up a method, and do it. Can I say that? We don't have to trademark that. I didn't say just. I can just say do it, right? Yeah, do it. Okay? Yeah, I don't want to get any copyright or trademark infringements here. What are you waiting for?
Set my heart on fire.